My name is Megan, and I am a physical therapist, and I work in home care. So typically, the average patient that I see is in the increased COVID risk population. So we have been taking care of proper precautions for a long time with that patient population. A few weeks ago, I had been working with a patient, and they ended up being diagnosed with COVID. So I was offered to be tested as well. I decided to be tested even though I had no signs or symptoms. And a few days later, I got a phone call and the nurse told me that I was positive. So I thought that it was an incorrect diagnosis, and I ended up getting tested again just to determine if there was a false negative. And it turns out the second time I got tested was the throat swab, and it also came back positive. So in the meantime, I had stopped treating patients and was living in the basement of my home. My husband got tested and within 24 hours found out he was negative. And then I took my children to be tested. So that was one of the hardest parts of this journey for me, was driving my two children into an abandoned church parking lot on a stormy afternoon, and you drive into a big white tent and people in spacesuits come through cracks in your windows and swab your upper nasal passages. And I was trying to reassure them from the front seat that this was something that needed to be done and was normal. Looking back, there was nothing about that was normal at all. So they got tested and also were negative. So about a week and a half, I lived in the basement. The symptoms that I developed were completely different from everything that, as a healthcare provider, we had been screening people for. So I had no fever at all, no shortness of breath. I ended up feeling fine for the first 5 days, and then for about 3 days developed pretty significant headaches, loss of appetite, fatigue, and an upset stomach. So even in the short time it's been since I tested negative, I'll feel good one day and then the next day, just not my normal self. But these are stressful times. So I was tested again about a week and a half later, and again a nasal swab, and came back negative. And I'm currently waiting for my second, hopefully negative test, which will allow me then to safely go back to work and treat patients. So I think my takeaways from my COVID story is I felt completely normal until I didn't. I think that we are figuring out still the presentation of the virus. And I think a few years from now we may have a better idea. But right now I think we all are doing the best we can. I feel pretty fortunate compared to what a lot of people have gone through and are suffering. So my goal is to get a second negative and go back to work. I work with a population that is physically limited in what they can do right now in their homes and assisted livings. I worry about their emotional well-being, the social isolation, and the toll that takes on their happiness and general mental health. So I know the team that I work on, we try to provide not just our regular jobs of nursing and physical therapy and working on strength and balance and safety and medications, but also trying to provide anything that we can on a daily basis to lift their spirits. And whether that's somebody to talk to, or FaceTiming with a family member, or bringing them just a little something that would make their day. So overall, my COVID story has been pretty lucky, and I wish the best to everyone out there whose friends and loved ones are going through all sorts of different experiences in these crazy times. I have taken the time to appreciate the ability to slow down from our normal frantic pace, and I tend to be an optimist, and I am touched by the outpouring of love and support for everyone in healthcare and everyone going through this, and all the essential people working all the jobs you never really took the time to think about. I believe in being kind, and it gives me hope that in general, people are good and we'll get through this.